Carolina Gomez Agurto. She is an industrial engineer with 18 years of experience working all over the globe at the United Nations Development Program, then at the Chilean National Energy Commission, and now at the Ministry of Energy, which is already quite impressive, but that's not enough. She also works on gender studies, and she's a professor at the Andrés Bello University. So warm welcome to you, and welcome on stage for your first presentation.
All right. Thank you for inviting me to this instance. Well, sorry. What is next? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm going to introduce a little bit a context of our energy sector, in particular the coal power plants. In Chile, we have 28 coal power plants that are located in 6 localities, in Iquique, Tocopilla, Mejillones, Huasco, Puchuncaví, and Coronel. 4 of them are in the north of Chile, Puchuncaví in the center, and Coronel in the south of Chile. In total, there are 5.5 gigawatts of coal capacity, installed capacity, and they are property of 5 companies. 3 of them are international companies. Enel from Italy, Engie from France, and AES from USA. So we are in a phase-out process. We started this process in 2018. The first coal unit was phased out in 2019. So now we have 8 units are closed. Sorry. 12 units will be closed or reconverted by 2025. So at the end of 2025, will be 71% of the total coal capacity closed or converted. And the 8 remaining coal power plants will be closed no later than 2040. So our process to write the Just Energy Transition Strategy was a very participatory process. It was a commitment in our upload NDC and update the NDC. Because in the NDC, more than the commitment to reduce CO2 emissions, we have incorporates a social pillar of just transition and sustainable development. It was a commitment to prepare a just energy transition strategy by 2021. So we started to work in that in a very participatory process. It was led by the Ministry of Energy. We involve all stakeholders because in the Ministry of Energy, not only in the central level, in the center of the country, in Santiago, we know our stakeholders, but also we have in each region of the country, energy ministerial office, so we know who are our stakeholders. So we invited all of them to participate in this process. We had several workshops. 3 kinds of workshops. One focused on labor unions because they are the most affected people in the process. Another kind of workshops were focused on communities where where coal power plants are located. And the other workshops were open to all the public. So in this process, all the information that we collected in the workshops were systematized by a smaller work group composed by 25 people in representation of all stakeholders. Actually, there was representatives from the Ministry of Energy, Environment, Economy, Labor. There was people from the coal power plants companies, the labor unions from this coal power plants company. Actually, Claudio, it was there. We have international institutions in this smaller group. GIZ was there. Actually, Veronica and Rainer participate with us. NGOs and academy, universities from North, Center, and South of Chile. In all the process, we try to maintain the gender parity as well. So this work group worked in a common vision, developed some guidelines, which are the main points in the strategy. And after that, we have a review of the expert institutions from gender equality and human rights. So it was very interesting because they gave us very important feedbacks that we take it in our strategy. So in addition, we have a public consultation. So no matter if you participated before, you can review the draft of the strategy, and you can give some feedback as well. So after all this participatory process, we launched our Just Energy Transition Strategy. It's in our website. I left the link there. It was in 2021. We accomplished with our commitment in the NDC. So our strategy is structured in 4 main pillars. The first one is people-focused transition, with guidelines related to employment and training. Another guideline is related to social well-being of the most vulnerable people. The second one is related to economic development and productive promotion, with guidelines related to investment, research, development, innovation. The third one is environmental issue. The first one, the last but not least, is a transversal pillar acts related to participatory governance and public-private articulation. So it was our strategy is a main framework. It's a national framework strategy, and we said in our strategy it will be implemented by local action plans in each territory, in the 6 territories that I showed you before. So, for example, in Tocopilla, in the north of Chile, the Ministry of Energy led the process to generate these just transition local action plans. They took the main framework, but they raised another topics that were important for them. For example, health. It wasn't in the strategy, but for them it's very important, so they raised this topic. Another thing is what's very interesting, similar to Connie that we visited before, we have youth participation with the help of UNICEF. It's very, very, very nice, very important part of the process, because children and young people are the next generation. They will be affected more than us from climate change. So it's very important to know what are their worries, what are their proposals involved in the process. So we didn't know how to do that, but UNICEF helped us in that. So I strongly recommend it. It's a very good part of the process. So another thing important in this process is a strong governance. In 2022, the last year, it was created an interministerial committee for just socio-ecological transition. This is a committee, it's a political and strategic committee that is led by the Minister of Environment, and is included the Minister of Energy, Social Development, Labor, Economy, Mining, Health, Women and Gender Equality, and Minister of Education. This committee, the just socio-ecological transition is broader than just energy transition. Includes just energy transition, includes just hybrid transition. So because it's a new concept that is broader, is moving from a situation of environmental degradation, climate crisis, and destruction of the biodiversity towards a model from gives greater well-being to Chileans. So it's a broader concept, and it's very good, this committee, because it's a backup from the implementation of the strategy. because they are a group of ministers who give the president their knowledge, their decisions. So in addition of that, it was creating an office of just sociological transition. It's similar to the Institute of Just Transition, the Spain Institute of Just Transition. So this office is in the Ministry of Environment. So this office has the responsibility to implement the just transition in the country. So, how I said before, the just energy transition was the main framework, but it will be implemented by specific plans in the localities. So, because the Ministry of Environment is leading now this process, it will be implement the strategy from an existing program. It's called Program for Environmental and Social Recovery. The PRAS is the acronym in Spanish. Actually, my Chilean colleagues are here. They are from the PRAS of Coronel, of the south of Chile. So this instrument existed from many years ago. So now this program have to update and review and include just energy transition in these programs. So this will be the way to implement the just energy transition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You had so many stakeholders involved, and we will go into more in-depth how you actually organized that process, because since you've already finished your strategy, that's quite interesting to see how you actually took the path there. But now we will come to our next country, which is South Africa. Similar to Chile, a just energy transition has been a topic in South Africa for many years already. The Presidential Climate Commission has developed a just transition framework that was accepted by the cabinet in August 2022. However, the Mpumalanga province contains most of the coal mining and coal-based power plant generation in South Africa, and therefore will be strongly affected. And so we have the perfect person to talk about this. Dudu Sibiya is from the regional government of Mpumalanga, and she's a provincial climate change director at the Mpumalanga Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, Land and Environmental Affairs. So in that ministry, a lot of paths interweave, and I think it's perfect that you can talk about how Mpumalanga prepares for the just energy transition. Welcome.
Thank you very much. And in my country, we normally say, we only greet the deputy minister and say, all protocol observed. Yeah. So I hope you understand that now. So if you check, basically in South Africa, we already started talking about the just transition and that just energy transition. You could tell in the media space that everybody's talking about it, because more than anything, we are not rehearsing, we are already transitioning. So we find ourselves, we wake up early in the morning and in the following day we are transitioning. So you have to find a mechanism on how are you going to handle that and go above and beyond that. So if you check basically, the transition milestones that we have done, I think this is only since 2018. So in Mpumalanga, we became aware of the transition in 2018. And then after that, in the Mpumalanga part. But at a national level, there were a lot of engagement that was taking place. So because there's national, provincial, district, and local municipalities. So on that level, and then we started becoming aware, and then we realized that we have to start doing something. You could see the spectrum of frameworks that has been developed at a national level, and then now we are excited because the climate change bill has been voted, and then after that now we are looking forward for to be published and approved and then be implemented very effectively. It has got that kind of an element. So you could check that now we have the Just Energy Transition Framework, and after that we look at the NEVA, we call the National Employment Vulnerability Assessment that we have done. So all this already been in place and have been done. But at the provincial level, in 2020, we came up with a climate change mitigation strategy because we've already been highly impacted by climate change. We are at the border of Swaziland and Mozambique. You know issues of Mozambique most of the time because it feeds it to Mpumalanga. So most of the tropical cyclone are heading even on our side of Mpumalanga. And most of the time when this thing is happening, there's a lot of immigration that is coming on the side because like it's closer to that. So if you check again, we have the Mpumalanga Reconciliation Plan. And after that, we realized that we have to establish an agency or a cluster that is going to coordinate all these other issues. I think the presentation you'll hear it about tomorrow. And at the same time, now we have developed the Just Transition Phase 1 plan in Mpumalanga because we just want to check and test the water to say what is it that we really have to do. At a municipality level, you could see that it's a legal and activities that are happening. Yeah. So if you check in Mpumalanga, as I've indicated that, and then we have 85% of mines are coming from Mpumalanga, and then 86% of electricity is being generated there. And then by 2030, 8 of the power stations will be closed down in terms of the integrated resource plan. And if you check the greenhouse gas, that's why the focus is more in Mpumalanga. 50% of South Africans' greenhouse gas is coming from Mpumalanga. And none other than that, there are other air quality related issues. And the open cast mining, the PM10, most of the time is that what we are doing. And now we are starting to see the rise of the ozone. If you check on the biodiversity side, we are losing most of our diversity in a very rapid way. And at the same time, the degradation of our ecological infrastructure. And if you check regionally, we are highly dependent on energy and mining sector, and the youth employment is very high. So if you check here, South Africa, and then the population basically in Mpumalanga. If you check Mpumalanga, we are up there. I'm not quite sure whether this does it show up. But if you check Mpumalanga in vis-a-vis South Africa, we have 9 provinces, and Mpumalanga is one of the provinces that has got 3 districts. This is a population that we have, and unemployment is 39%. So you could tell very high. These are the power stations, all of them. We are the hub of all power stations in Mpumalanga. The one is closed now, the Komati, and they are repurposing it. And then according to that, it was supposed to be closed in 2019, but it was closed last year. Meaning that the devastation, because more than anything, I say we wake up and then we are transitioning. So it becomes very difficult because we have to make sure that there are jobs that are created, but at the same time you have to blend. It confuses your mind a little bit. So if you check, I'm zooming in now in one of the districts in Kangala, where most of the hoo-ha is happening. Emalahleni alone, 44% is highly dependent on the coal. And then after that, if you check on the employment again, Emalahleni, 29%. It's dependent on that. So you could tell that really this is not an issue of sitting down and relaxing for us. It's just like we keep on running, but we have to drag all the bags that we are coming up with. So meaning that we really, really need a lot of assistance, a lot of support, a lot of technical and expertise because we are already on a run and the train is running very fast for us. If you check on the phase 1 plan, we have diversity a little bit and look at what kind of component do we really need to have, like the social dialogue, the governance, and then after that, we have the focal points that we really have to design and debate about it, especially the protecting of the livelihood and creating the decent jobs. And we have to economically diversify. We cannot allow the single sector to think that it's going to absorb all the work. Currently, with the renewables, you find that now the mine has got 20,000 people. The renewable will only have maybe plus or minus 25. So how can we diversify and use the renewables as an enabler for the new jobs that are going to be created? So at the same time, the social services, social protection, but again, we have the service delivery issues. that we really have to ensure that our community are in power of that and the environment. So if you just check that, we came up with a just transition landscape being assisted by CSRR, and then after that we say, let us just try to navigate how do we really want to look at this. So we look at economically, but we look at the ownership, local ownership and entrepreneurship. So we really want people that are going to be focusing on that entrepreneurship. And at the same, technically, the normal Mpumalanga, you have a transmission grid that is very well and sustainable. But at the same time, we have to assess even that infrastructure, whether now we are transitioning to the new technology. Is it going to be capable to have that? If there's an over-generation of the renewables, how is going to be handling that? So this is the spectrum, because we have the generation, the transmission, and the distribution. And the distribution mostly is at a municipal level. So at the same time, the closure of mine, other mine, because it's not that most of the mine none of the mines are owned by the government. So it's still a partnership that still need to be engaged more to say, how can we start now transitioning on the mine? Because more than anything, we have to prove with the cost-benefit analysis to say, this, if we are generating so much job, we are going to lose so much. So that kind of a scenario is still need to be navigated in a very way. And the social effect, we've seen a lot of migration that is happening, or the labor, the workforce, moving to other areas looking for jobs, and now leaving all the children with the grannies, and the social ills element is coming to prop up. So these are the issues that, if we are affected by this just transition, what are the other rippling effects that is coming in, and how to handle that, and the environmental part again. So if after that we realize that in Mpumalanga we have this just transition phase 1, why can't we now come together? But we want the Premier to be championing this. So after that we realize that it has to be political. We realize that just transition is a political agenda. Whether we like it or not, administrators has to go into that and find a way on how to do that. So after that, we have designed sort of it's approved that we have to start this structure. And then after that, make sure that all the sectors are included. We have traditional leaders, we have based organizations that we really have to look into it and talk to it more. So we are looking at all these technologies, but we have to have an assessment. Because today we are sitting here, we are trying to solve the solution of the past. Somebody came with these energies and all these other issues, but they never checked the environmental and the other impacts that we have. It was a solution by then, but now it is a problem for us. So we have to make sure that whatever technology that we are coming up with, we don't create for the future generation challenges again. So we have to assess it very well, not only on the greenhouse gas emission, but we have to look into other environmental issues. How is it going to impact us? And these are the major concerns with us. So still, people are still talking, what is this just transition? Is it really just? But at the same time, the definition of just transition, we still haven't captured it. But because we talk about what just transition can achieve, but not what is really just transition. So you could see that in a room, everybody, they say, oh, there are able, but what is it exactly? You understand? So we noticed that currently we are still looking at the power stations, but not on the coal value chain. We have to look at the whole coal value chain. We have a lot of illegal mining. This is a business, contain plus or minus hundreds and thousands of people. So we have to look into it. And then at the same time, in our culture, we are using coal. Even if we have electricity, it's a cultural thing. It's a black thing. So somehow, you have to make sure that these things, you are capturing it in your planning. You don't just devise it and take it outside. And at the same time, we are looking at just energy transition and just transition. What is it exactly? And then after that, why are we transiting? Are we transiting for climate change or what? So these are the still phenomenon that we have to debate it a little bit and understand. And the little bit of economic diversification is quite limited. We are highly reliant and dependent on coal. So these are the issues. And the gender. We met with women that are coal-based led on those regions. They say, we really want to go to the green, but we are black. Economy. So what is it? We are so used to coal. But now if you are transitioning us, Go with us, don't leave us behind. We have to have that mentoringship, not the capacity building. Take them by the hand and say, this is the way that you have to go. And at the same time, the labor organization, their representation, they are still confused what is it all about. So this is the way that it's not going to be an overnight thing that you're going to blink your eye and after that, everything is gone. It has to be a process that is well planned. And cost-benefit analysis is what I've highlighted. At the same time, the universities, we still produce the technocrats that are coming with the old system, but we are transitioning to the new system. So these are the elements that is kind of a rippling effect that we have to look to say, just transition, what is it that is impacting? All of it. And at the same time, in Mpumalanga, there's a lot of work that is happening, but it's uncoordinated. Every person is coming to Mpumalanga. We're becoming a breeding ground of funding donors. So every person comes, I want to do this for you, but it's not well coordinated. So you can't even value the impact that is happening on that one. So really, this is still what we need to do. We really need to finalize our just transition phase 1, because we are not looking only on the energy sector, but in all the sectors, how can we leverage on that? And the part of accountability and the inclusiveness of that. And at the same time, the social protection, the skill development. We have to really, people, when we go to the community, they say, we are not eating plants, we are eating food. We really want project now. So at least like we have to, while we are still developing those policies, we have to have the project that are happening on the site. And again, the monitoring and evaluation to see how far have you gone. There are a lot of projects that are happening, but we don't have a clue. Because each and every donor will come and do a small project, and then after that they go to a COP and say, we have done something for Mpumalanga. So like those tick, 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 we really want now to come up, all the funders to come into one room and say, this is the elephant that we want to kill. We are elephant people. So if we want this elephant to be killed, how do we kill it? And then all of us come together in one sort of like a space like that. So on our stakeholder, this is our stakeholder sort of like mapping that we have done. If you check on this, the traditional leaders, if you leave them behind, they're owning most of the land in South Africa. So somewhere, somehow, you have to respect even the culture and the tradition so that you can get the maximum benefit of what you are doing. And then the civil society. But what we have noted now again, the faith-based organization, we have got a lot of churches and organizations that are believing in faith. So if you can strike that one, I'm telling you, you'll get the really, really good results out of it. So these are the engagement that we have already started kicking with all the sectors that I've mentioned. And the Presidential Climate Change Commissioner, they are facilitating most of this, and we are highly appreciative of them, because more than anything, we cannot do, this is a big cake, all of us, we have to have a slice that I can manage in chow and swallow, not all of it. So basically, we are really, really appreciative of what the IKE is doing. This is what we can start and say, this is what we are looking for, that the donors are coming to us, asking us, what is it that you want us to do? Not coming with a preempted mind to say, this is what we want to do for you, for you. We are Africans, but we know what is it that we want. So somewhere, somehow, we felt like the IKE respected us enough to say, what is it that you want? And then after that, help us to assist you on what we are doing. We're highly appreciative of that. In my language, I will say, li, 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 because more than nothing, this is an achievement. So these are the partners that they are coming up with. You could see the partners that are coming in here. We are going to look at this elephant and see how I'm going to dissect it very well. So with that word, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you so much for your presentation. And it's so impressive to see you had such short time, but you did so much work with in that short amount of time. It's very impressive. And we will talk about this more in our panel discussion, but thank you very much for the presentation. We have one more country to go, Colombia. And 2023 is actually quite an important year for Colombia because Colombia is finishing the Just Energy Transition Strategy this year. And it's the largest coal-producing country in Latin America and mostly mines coal for export. Only a small amount of it stays actually in the country. And Colombia has efforts including local communities in the strategy development of coal mine closures. And it's very interesting to see how these local communities have been engaged in the process. And for that, we have Diana Alvarez here. She's the General Director of the Center for Social Justice Studies, Tierra Digna, as you can already see here. And for the last, I think, 15 years or longer, she has been working with indigenous communities in Colombia on these processes. And I think it's very interesting to see how she engaged all these different communities. A short notice, she will present in Spanish, and Eduardo Sanchez will translate for her on the spot. Welcome to the stage.
Дати те, що вона буде говорити для нас. Buen día para todos y todas. Es un gusto para mí estar aquí. Ya hemos escuchado las historias de dos países muy importantes y pues lo que ha sucedido allí a partir de la transición energética bajo el componente de justo, y ahora quiero contarles lo que está sucediendo en este momento en Colombia con ese piloto que está en los departamentos de Cesar, que es el corazón de las minas, y Magdalena, en donde se encuentran los puertos.
I think no, yeah, it's working. No, well, she's thanking everyone for coming. She wants to tell a story about the pilot that has been developed in Cesar and Magdalena regarding this just energy transition pilot that they have in the area.
Bien, durante estos días, en conjunto con los colegas de otros países, hemos estado visitando diferentes lugares aquí en Alemania, incluso en Polonia. Allí vimos las minas de carbón y estas son las que se encuentran en Colombia. Un carbón que se extrae desde una zona mucho más profunda, un carbón que genera más impacto y un carbón en el que todavía se usa dinamita para poder extraerlo.
Hello? No, okay. So this is a picture of a Colombian coal mine. During these days, we've been traveling all over Germany and Poland, seeing open pit mines. But in Colombia, these kind of mines go deeper, and due to the characteristics of the terrain, they need to use explosives as part of the process. That implies different sorry, I forget the word, impacts in terms of health and other issues in the area.
Bien, entonces, para empezar a hablar de toda esta situación, ya escuchamos a representantes de gobiernos de los otros dos países. Yo quiero hablar desde las comunidades de Colombia. Y quiero empezar contándoles que la historia del carbón en Colombia empieza desde el año 75, cuando inicia quizás la mina más grande y la que ustedes más conocen, que es la de La Guajira, llamada el Cerrejón.
So yeah, basically, this is a timeline where the story begins in 1975. Sorry, yeah. Then it starts in 1975 with the biggest open pit mine in the area called Cerrejón, which is part of Glencore Group.
Más adelante, en el año 85, llega al departamento de Cesar la minería de la mano con la compañía Drummond, y es allí cuando se empiezan a generar un montón de situaciones, pero además llegan otras dos compañías muy importantes para tener al final tres en este departamento. La primera entonces es Drummond, que fue la primera compañía que llegó. Tenemos a Prodeco, que hace parte del grupo Glencore, y CNR, que hoy día hace parte de un consorcio colombiano.
Right now in the area, we have three big groups exploiting coal. The first one is Drummond, which began in 1995. The other one is Prodeco, which is part of the Glencore group. And the latter is Colombian Natural Resources, which belong right now to a Colombian group.
Bien, entonces así inicia toda nuestra línea del tiempo. Entonces en el 85 llega Drummond, en el 95 llega Glencore. Más adelante empieza a suceder todo el tema de los puertos, unos puertos que desde el inicio estaban en la bahía de Santa Marta, que es una zona muy turística del país, y con posterioridad en el año 2009, esos puertos pasaron a estar en Ciénaga, que es de la zona de donde viene nuestra lideresa Nayivet, que está justo en ese lugar y hace parte de esta gran mesa y esta gran transformación de la que les voy a hablar.
So, as most of the coal is exported in Colombia, the port is also very important. So, in 2009, the port was moved from Santa Marta's touristic area to other area called Ciénaga, where Najivet, who's here, is one of the leaders of the women organizations in the area.
Bien, entonces nuestra historia de la mesa va a iniciar en el año 2016 cuando se le aprueba el plan de cierre a la empresa Prodeco, que les contaba es filial de Glencore. ¿Por qué se hace esto? Porque estas empresas para el año 2032, esta empresa debía cerrar ya las dos minas, la Calenturitas y la Jagua, que son las minas que en este momento se encuentran cerradas de manera anticipada, un poco irregular, pero que van a ser el piloto de la transición en el país.
So in 2000, Prodeco's mines, Calenturitas and La Jagua, were supposed to close in 2032. So in 2016, the company provided their mine closure plan. So at that year, that was approved.
Bien, y finalmente en el 2020 es cuando el grupo Prodeco decide entregar las licencias para la explotación de esas dos minas. Como les contaba, se entregan anticipadamente, es 10 años antes, y a partir de eso ocurren toda una serie de eventos que va a ser el corazón de esta presentación.
So in 2020, the company decides to give their concession 10 years before where it was supposed to be delivered to the Colombian government. And that triggered the whole problem that she's going to share with us.
Bueno, entonces, ¿qué pasó después del cierre de estas minas? Pasaron una serie de cosas un poco complejas. Para el 2021, a partir de ese cierre, se perdieron más de 1.200 trabajos directos y más de 5.000 trabajos indirectos en una zona que ha vivido durante 25 años exclusivamente del carbón. Eso generó un impacto social muy fuerte en estos territorios.
So in 2021, around 1,200 jobs, direct jobs, were lost, and 500 indirect jobs were also lost to the closure of the production of the mine.
Y adicional a ello, la empresa dijo, el plan de cierre que fue aprobado en el 2016 no lo voy a cumplir como estuvo aprobado porque entregué las minas 10 años antes. Entonces, quiero renegociar, quiero mirar pues cómo se va a desarrollar esos planes de manejo sociales y ambientales que además estaban en incumplimiento, pero definitivamente, señor gobierno colombiano, tal como estaba aprobado, no lo voy a hacer.
So, okay. So at the same time, at that moment, the company said, okay, so we are returning the mines before, so we would like to renegotiate the agreements that we had in 2016 regarding mine closure. So as we are developing this process, we need to renegotiate the whole contracts because we will deliver the contracts before.
Es por eso que las comunidades empiezan a reunirse y en conjunto con Tierra Digna empiezan a pensar qué pueden hacer. Sin lugar a dudas, a partir de todo esto se violentaron muchísimos derechos humanos, derechos fundamentales en el país. Hay problemas en materia ambiental, en materia de salud. Además de eso, se perdieron muchos empleos y la comunidad dijo, tenemos que hacer algo. Tenemos que levantar nuestra voz y en 2022, en conjunto con Tierra Digna, se unieron más de 14 comunidades, los dos sindicatos importantes de la zona, y allí entonces se instauró una acción para defender esos derechos que en Colombia es denominada acción de tutela, es un mecanismo legal.
So in 2022, due to this situation, Tierra Digna with other 14 base organizations in the area got together and presented and sued the government and the company regarding this issue because, I mean, the environmental, the health, and the jobs were at risk. So they decided to get together, sue the government, sue the companies in order to have a more ordered process regarding the forced and just transition that they had in the area.
Esta acción de tutela nos dio una luz de esperanza porque finalmente en una primera instancia nos dicen es importante empezar a hacer las cosas bien y para que esas cosas se hagan bien es importante crear una mesa de concertación, si se quiere llamar de algún modo. Las comunidades la llamaron Mesa para la Transición Justa y la Vida, en donde tienen asiento el gobierno nacional, por supuesto, porque fue el que permitió todo esto, la empresa que causó de algún modo los impactos y las comunidades, que son quienes día a día viven cada uno de esos impactos.
So the judge says, yes, you're right. You should have a more ordered process. So he or she ordered to have this dialogue table that the communities call just and for just a table for life and transition in order to sit at the same table, government, base organization, and company to dialogue this process.
Esto sucedió en el mes de noviembre y después de ello, en el mes de diciembre y a partir de estos cierres, el gobierno nacional decide decir, estamos en un contexto mundial de cambios a energías limpias, de transición energética, pues aprovechemos que hay estos cierres mineros y vamos a llamar al Cesar y pues a Magdalena el corredor de la vida, antes era denominado el corredor minero, y finalmente en diciembre el gobierno decide que ese va a ser el primer piloto de transición energética justa en el país.
At the same moment, the government realized that obviously Colombia has a commitment regarding just energy transition and mine closures and regarding NDCs. So the government said, okay, we have this situation with the company, we'll have mine closure. So maybe a good idea to put together the whole process and call this dialogue table the life corridor of Cesar and Magdalena, trying to not only to solve the issue with the mine closure, but also to support the just energy transition process that Colombia was also starting at the same moment.
Sin embargo, hasta el momento podríamos decir que el corredor de la vida solo tiene el nombre. Lamentablemente, pues a pesar de que en una primera instancia teníamos la creación de la mesa que se reafirmó en una segunda instancia, hasta el día de hoy todavía no se ha sentado en una mesa el gobierno nacional, la empresa y las comunidades. Esto que ha generado que en los territorios continúe incrementándose la pobreza, el hambre y que estemos casi que a puertas de un estallido social, porque no hay ninguna otra forma de subsistencia, lo cual muestra que esa transición energética no puede ser justa si antes no se hace una transición económica en un territorio que lleva 25 años viviendo del carbón.
There's no way to have a just energy transition if this transition doesn't involve an economic transition. from the companies, from the people that have been living for over 25 years on coal. So the problem that they have right now is that um, despite the fact that it's required to have this dialogue table, the government, neither the government nor the companies have sit and talk about this, and that's deepening the social situation in the area.
Sin embargo, nuestra gente tiene esperanza. Ellos esperan poder reunirse, poder negociar, poder generar un cambio y poder incluir el componente de justo dentro de la transición energética. Esto bajo propuestas que ellos y ellas han desarrollado y por medio de las cuales esperan generar una reconvención laboral, pero además una transición económica que les permita ser sostenibles y sustentables, que sean amigables con el medio ambiente, pero además de eso, que se pueda generar esa transición energética de la que tanto habla el mundo hoy día.
So, despite the fact that there's no dialogue at the moment, the communities have started to organize by themselves. So they are identifying projects and policies to be deployed, to be developed in the areas in order to support the just energy transition strategy that they've been forced to engage.
Entonces, ¿cómo se reunieron estas comunidades? Bueno, esto fue muy importante porque hubo un cambio crucial, el cierre de dos minas que de algún modo mantenían la economía de esa zona. Y las mismas comunidades decidieron que era importante rehabilitar ambientalmente esas zonas, pero que además era necesario generar una reconvención laboral, que era importante trabajar los temas de degradación social y todas las problemáticas sociales que habían dentro de los territorios. Entonces, aquí pueden ver ustedes algunas de las organizaciones que se unieron en conjunto con Tierra Digna. Tenemos a Sintra Carbón y Sintra Minergética, que son los dos sindicatos más importantes de la zona, la Red de Mujeres de la Loma Cesar, la Asamblea Campesina, ANUC, es decir, allí estuvieron reunidos sindicatos, claro, comunidades afro, comunidades que necesitaban un reasentamiento. Están las mujeres, está el pueblo Yucpa, que es un pueblo indígena muy importante de la zona. em, Están los campesinos y muchos otros.
So they sat together, identifying those main aspects as crucial to aspects to be addressed in the dialogue. And when we made day is those are those organizations that you can see there, which are basically labor organization, women's organization, indigenous communities, and base organizations from the area.
Entonces, ¿qué pasó? Cuando ellos vieron y estuvieron claros en qué era lo que se necesitaba, se pidió la construcción de la mesa, pero sobre todo con esa visión para un desarrollo económico, para una reconvención, y se pedían de algún modo situaciones favorables que promovieran la participación de cada una de estas comunidades. Y además de eso hay algo muy importante que aprovecho este espacio para decirlo, y es la presión internacional. Para nosotros es muy importante porque nosotros siempre decimos con las comunidades en esta historia. Hay tres actores muy importantes, vuelvo y los menciono, la empresa, el gobierno y las comunidades, pero hay un cuarto actor que también es supremamente importante y son ustedes, comunidad internacional, porque son quienes nos brindan estos micrófonos para poder contar la historia y poder mostrar lo que está sucediendo allí.
So with the creation of of this style dialogue table that is supposed to be opened, they identify the challenges, but also believe that this dialogue table involves also international community as a big player, because it's not only government, communities, company, but there's also another fourth player, which is the international community, and the experience and the funds to provide guidance on this whole process that they are aiming to do.
Entonces, en nuestra experiencia hay muchas cosas buenas. Creemos que el poder unir a las comunidades, a los sindicatos, la sociedad civil y a todos aquellos quienes nos puedan enseñar y compartir su historia, sus experiencias, día a día va enriqueciendo este proceso. Sin lugar a duda, necesitamos fortalecer la participación y todo el tema del soporte internacional para nosotros es la parte más positiva, pero tenemos al menos tres partes no tan alegres como se muestra en la diapositiva y es el tema de que las compañías difícilmente quieren sentarse con las comunidades a conversar, a dialogar y a ver cómo solucionan de algún modo el problema. Los gobiernos usualmente, o por lo menos eso sucede en Colombia, no inician los procesos de abajo hacia arriba. Siempre vienen desde el escritorio y por eso terminan desarrollándose de manera no satisfactoria. Y finalmente, es muy difícil que a veces encontrar organizaciones o comunidades que escuche esas ideas que tienen ellos para el cambio y para el desarrollo, a pesar de que son ellos los que conocen y ellas los que conocen sus territorios, saben lo que significan y qué es lo que exactamente puede ayudar a mejorar cada una de las situaciones.
So basically, you can see that the positive aspect of all this process is that they were able, due to the situation, they were able to get together and create a stronger bonds between the base organization. Also, the regulatory frameworks for a strong participation based on the legal action that they made was very important to create this obviously framework, and the international support in terms of helping them to guide the process or understand in a better way what should be done is a positive aspect. One of the challenge, however, there's also challenges there. The first one is that companies are reluctant to sit down with the communities. The second is that the government are not the government do understand this policy from the top with a top approach, but the bottom up approaches are not yet there, and they are quite needed in the area. And the other is that the people and the companies and the national government are not quite listening the people in the area. So this is very important for them to for them.
Y finalmente, las recomendaciones que nosotros haríamos es que sin lugar a dudas, em, se tenga en cuenta las comunidades dentro de todos los procesos de transición energética en cada uno de los territorios. Yo celebro profundamente que en todos los lugares donde estuvimos nos dijeron, nos sentamos con las comunidades, organizamos y ellos se están beneficiando. Me hubiese gustado conocer más a esas comunidades, pero de verdad que es muy, muy importante. El tema de la promoción pacífica de las transiciones, miren, desde la creación de esta mesa, somos ya 9 líderes los que están amenazados, que corren riesgo sus vidas y en este momento nos encontramos en un proceso. Y tristemente eso inició desde que empezamos a hablar de esa mesa, de esa transición, de sentémonos a dialogar y hagamos las cosas de la mejor manera posible. Es importante garantizar la protección del ambiente, porque nosotros entendemos también que estamos hablando de combustibles fósiles, de energías que tienen que dejarse de lado, pero si no manejamos de una forma, no sé, visualizando el futuro, decía un poco la compañera de Sudáfrica, esta se va a convertir en nuestro problema del futuro. Entonces, es muy importante revisar cómo vamos a proteger el ambiente. Los procesos con la comunidad, sin lugar a dudas, son los más importantes y la participación y la transparencia. A las comunidades en Colombia les ocultan muchísima información. La transparencia, aquí hablaban mucho de la confianza. Allá no hay confianza y es importante empezar a construirla porque finalmente es la base de todo.
Okay, so there are key aspects here. The first one is peace and environment, conflict, participation, and trust. In terms of peace, there's a lot of risk. I mean, you know that Colombia is a country in conflict in many ways. So this situation is bringing again conflict in the area. So avoiding this kind of situation due to just to force energy transition in the area is quite important. In terms of environment, the challenge is to make sure that all the mine closures are correctly made, so to avoid other contaminations, and peace, environment, communities should be heard as part of the process, um, um, and trust. Trust and participation are one of the are two of the other challenges that she is mentioning to be addressed.
Y esa es básicamente la historia de lo que está sucediendo en materia de transición en este momento en Colombia. Una historia que inició un poco accidentada, si se quiere, pero una historia que también tiene mucha esperanza porque nuestras comunidades no se rinden, y esperan también poder tomar lo mejor de cada una de sus historias para de algún modo convertirnos en un ejemplo y poder lograr incluir el componente de justa en la transición energética. Muchas gracias.
So, no, sorry. So you can clap again. Don't worry. After, so she's saying that the just component is not there, and they are not losing hope to include the justice component in this dialogue, because the communities are very well engaged. They're reinforced into this process, but they see this also as an opportunity to move away from coal. So having the right tools to do this is quite important for the base organization, and obviously for Tierra Digna. So she said she thanked everyone for this, for being here.
Thank you very much, both of you. Carolina, you can already stay on stage for our short panel discussion. Also, a big applause. Eduardo, thank you for the translation. So we heard three very different perspectives already. All of them faced different difficulties, but what unites all of you, you had very short time, very difficult challenges, and yes, you had to start somewhere. And the first question, maybe you've already talked about Colombia. Thank you, perfectly, thanks. Where do you start involving the communities? How do you get them all together? How did you organize getting them together? Maybe in practical terms.
¿Quieres que traduzca, Diana, o entendiste?
Yeah.
Bueno, para nosotros la única forma de empezar a involucrar a las comunidades es escucharlas, porque usualmente dejamos un poco de lado todo lo que ellos tienen que decir y empezamos a crear cosas maravillosas desde los escritorios, desde las centrales, desde las ciudades centrales, pero son ellos y ellas los que viven la realidad de cada uno de esos territorios. Entonces, en aquel momento lo que hizo Tierra Digna fue empezar a escucharlos, empezar a escuchar cómo se habían violentado, por ejemplo, los derechos laborales de los sindicatos, el levantamiento de fueros, qué estaba pasando en materia de salud, qué significaba para el pueblo indígena Yucpa ese territorio que además es sagrado para ellos. Y al empezar a escuchar cada una de esas versiones, pudimos sentarnos en la mesa desde el respeto y empezar a decir, bueno, ya sabemos todos y todas qué queremos, o más bien cómo estamos. Organicémonos hacia cómo queremos proteger nuestros territorios. Y fue de esa forma que se pudieron reunir estas 14 comunidades en conjunto con los sindicatos y pueblos indígenas.
This is too much information. No, the first step was sitting together and understand the problem that they have. I mean, hearing all the communities, mainly unions, and see how their rights were violated, to understand the point of view of the indigenous community, which had the previous rights on the area, in some of the areas, was the first step. So they created this kind of dialogue, and after having this dialogue between communities and all the stakeholders in the area, they made a proposal to go to the government. They made a blog to have a common voice with the government regarding, and the companies regarding those issues.
And maybe you can also tell a bit more about your work at Tierra Digna. How do you support these communities?
Sí, mira, desde Tierra Digna, bueno, nosotros llevamos más de 12 años trabajando específicamente en ese territorio. Trabajamos también en otras zonas como Amazonía y el Huila. Pero en este territorio buscamos salvaguardar los derechos humanos y ambientales. Quizás ese es el tema principal en el que se enfoca TD. De hecho, por esa protección del ambiente somos conocidos quizás a nivel mundial, generando el tercer río sujetos de derecho en el mundo, que fue en el departamento del Chocó.
Eduardo?
Voy parando.
Yeah, thank you. Well, basically, Tierra Digna has been working for about 12 years in the area, talking with everyone. There's another interesting story is the way they work in another area of Colombia, providing rights to a river. So this river called the Atrato River has a status as a person. And that's due to the lawsuit that Tierra Digna made also to the government to give rights to this river as a way to protect the environment in the area. So they've been working a lot, and they've been engaging a lot with communities since long ago in this process, in all these processes.
Sí, algo muy importante es que TEDx no hace nada si no es con las comunidades, porque yo siempre digo que ellos y ellas son nuestros jefes y jefas, y ellos son de verdad quienes conocen esos territorios, pero un plus de todo esto es poder entender que para ellos y ellas la naturaleza no es como la piedra, el árbol, el río donde se bañan y ya, es mucho más, hace parte de ellos, y sin esa naturaleza pues no van a poder vivir. Entonces es poder entender que la naturaleza no es un objeto, sino que termina convirtiéndose en otro ser con el que conviven.
So Tierra Digna moves always with the communities. They don't do anything without their engagement in this process. They don't go along in this process. There's a strong relationship between communities and environment, because for them, for the communities, environment is not something that you see or can touch. It's something that you live. So you need to be extremely careful in the way you have a strong relationship between communities, environment, and also with the support of Tierra Digna.
Yes, thank you very much for sharing your experience from Colombia. Dudu, let's go to South Africa. Ah, you already have one. Perfect. You already told us very much about how many different stakeholders you also involved in such a short time. And I think before we spoke already, and you said you had many colleagues here that you work together. So maybe you can tell us a bit more how Mpumalanga works together with the national level as well as the municipality.
I think I'm the blessed one because I'm going with other colleagues of mine. I have Jongi Kaya Witi from National Department of Environmental Affairs. I have Nati Konyane that is responsible for the Green Economy Cluster, and Zimase Vasi that is from the Presidential Climate Commission. So maybe with that caution, at the national level, I would really ask Mr. VT just to come and just like respond to that. Come quickly, Pella.
Yeah, it would be perfect for the microphone, yeah. Eduardo is sharing his microphone. Perfect, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chair. Thanks to you for putting me on the spot. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, as Dudu said, my name is Jongika Awiti. I work for the National Department of Forestry, Fisheries and then Environment. I will speak about the extent to which we work with province. To say, as the National Department, our role is to define policy and also set up, governance structures to support the implementation of the just transition. So the question is, what have we done in that context? In terms of governance, the first thing that we've done was to, establish a Presidential Climate Commission. Now, I'm sure you're aware of Presidential Climate Commissions that have been formed in many other countries. They tend to be science-based, evidence-based, to support government with science to make decisions. Ours is a little bit different. It's constituency-based. The reason for that is precisely to support the process of engagement with society, broader society. Because as you know, we've got labor, we've got civil society, we've got government. A lot of the difficult discussions around just transition has to be engaged and fought on in that structure. So that's one of the primary reasons why we have the Presidential Climate Commission. And therefore, a lot of the issues, for example, related to Mpumalanga, we address them there. But also the Presidential Climate Commission helps us to set up some of the just transition related policies, like as you mentioned, the just transition framework. So that has been developed together with the province of Mpumalanga and also with other broader stakeholders. So that's largely what we've done. The other aspect that we've done with the help of GIZ and other, the government, German government, was to set the cluster within Mpumalanga to support, the resource mobilization aspects of the just transition. So those are some of the aspects that we've done. Also, we try to develop, evidence base. So one of the things that we've been doing, working with the province and other stakeholders, was to develop what could be the implementation mechanisms to support the just transition. So there's the Just SA program that we worked with the German government through IKI to make sure that we can pilot, we can demonstrate some of the interventions that we are looking at. So those are some of the things that we've done. The other thing that we did was the National Employment Vulnerability Assessment. That's as Dudu spoke about. The purpose of that was to look at 5 value chains: the coal value chain, the tourism value chain, petroleum transport value chain, agriculture and transport, because our view was that those will be the 5 value chains that will be affected by climate change mitigation or interventions related to that. So and then the idea was to understand what will be the impact on jobs and livelihoods and society in general. So that's available, as Dudu mentioned. And then what we also did, working with Mpumalanga and other stakeholders, was to develop the sector jobs resilience plans. Those as to say, what are the interventions that could be implemented? So a lot of the response that you see in terms of the Just SA program and other initiatives, they're actually meant to, realize some of those things.
Thank you very much. Big applause, because he didn't knew he had to go on stage. Thank you very much. Just a quick question maybe to you also, Dudu, again. We have many people here in the room, and is there something that you want them to take home, a perspective from Africa that you would like to share, a lesson learned that the people should take home with them?
Thank you very much. The major issue is that people are at the center of all this. You cannot just decide in the evening that morning you are implementing and you're transitioning. There's supposed to be a full planning that takes years, that when you're transitioning, the livelihood still continue, the quality of life, like the dignity of the humanity. Because we are all here, whether you are at the constitutional level, we are at the trade union, you are looking at the livelihood of the human beings. So somewhere, somehow, whatever decision that has been made, I think it has to put people first. And at the same time, governance of all the structures that are coming in, it should have one vision to say, where do we want to see ourselves in 50 years? So that when we are transitioning, every person that you're going with, they come along with you. That nobody's left behind. Whether it's on the policy side, whether it's on the development side, on the project side, program side, that it's supposed to be governing very effectively. So somewhere, somehow, these are what you really need to do and look into it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's very beautifully said. People are not just numbers, they're actually humans, and you can't do just transition strategies by just looking at the numbers, but you have to look at people. Thank you, it's very beautiful. Carolina, you have already written the Just Energy Transition Strategy, so maybe can you also share some insights for the audience when they are facing a strategy like on this massive scale?
Okay. Yeah, in the Just Energy Transition Strategy, yeah, we face challenges as well. It was a massive process, a participatory process, so we have agreements and disagreements. So we collected all these learnings. It was the base to construct the strategy. Yeah, I think we passed the first barrier, that is have a master plan, a framework, a strategy. We built these local action plans with the people, with learning, with listen their worries. So we have, yeah, the second barrier passed with the local action plans. And I think more challenges for us is now implementing the measurements. So we have been a large process to make the plan. That is very good because you said before, we have different measures, but they have to be all together. So we did this job, we did the homework, but now we have to implement it. And I think this is a huge challenge. And for that, we have to strengthen our institution, that the Office of Just Socio-Ecological Transition. This office has to be more resources, more people working that in the national level, but also in the regions. They need more budget to implement the actions. So this is a huge challenge. We are working on that, but the velocity of the phase out is faster than the implementation, the activities. So this is one challenge, I think. The other thing is we have to put together and organize all the stakeholders in the territories. For example, engage in a collaborative way I don't know, fishermen, with restaurants, with local winemakers. In Chile, we have a very good wine. So in these localities where the coal power plants are, they are beautiful wine valleys. So put all together, working together, I think improving tourism. Tourism is a very good activity. It's a very democratic activity. Most of people can develop tourist activities. I show you our coal power plants are in the coastal area, so our beautiful beach. They can, many people can go there, can eat fresh seafood, perfect wine. So attract people to these places in order to develop more employment. So this is in one hand. On the other hand, in these places, all the infrastructure is built. We have ports, transmission lines, substations. So maybe if we have a strong public-private articulation, we can develop green ports, for example, with green hydrogen. So yeah, we need more engaged than a strong engaged to go for this green transition as well.
Thank you very much. You mentioned some very interesting points that we will also look more into in the other sessions, like with the economic diversification. We'll have a special session for that. And yeah, your tourism was a good advertising. It's very, Sounds very
invite
good.
you.
Yeah, invitation to Chile. That's perfect. Thank you very much. We're a bit over time. I apologize for that. I hope it's okay if we take a bit more time into the break, because I also want to ask Diana if there's anything you can recommend for people who want to engage local communities, anything that you want them to take home to learn.
Escuchar a las comunidades es nuestra recomendación principal. Cambiar un poco la visión que va dirigida solo hacia lo económico. Tenía yo una discusión con un miembro del gobierno colombiano hace poco, y esa persona me decía: nosotros estamos comprometidos con la transición energética justa y por eso estamos poniendo paneles solares en el hospital. Y yo le dije, claro, eso es muy importante, pero si la gente se muere de hambre, los paneles solares en el hospital no van a servir de absolutamente nada. Entonces, es eso, es poder mirar que antes de hacer una transición energética, para que tenga el componente de justa, debe tener una transición económica esos territorios, porque han vivido solo de eso y no hay otras formas. Por eso es que es tan importante escucharlos.
Eduardo is already looking like he has to remember a lot.
Thank you. I was trying to. Yeah, so Diana was saying a story about a conversation that she had with a national government representative that was extremely happy to support the just energy transition process in Cesar due to the installing of some solar panels in the hospital of the area. So she was saying, yeah, that's good, but it doesn't respond to the question that we have here, where it's just. So listening people and understanding that economic transition is quite important from their perspective, instead of thinking about the technology and just being happy to install solar panels there and then live is quite important.
Thanks.
Sí, es muy importante entender que estamos hablando de recursos que no son renovables y tenemos que transitar hacia esas energías limpias y renovables y todo esto, pero las vidas que se pueden perder si no se hace de manera correcta tampoco son renovables. Eso es lo más importante.
So nobody's saying, nobody's against just transition. I mean, it's important to understand that the inclusion of renewables in the country is extremely relevant. However, lives are also non-renewables. So if you need also to include the lives of the people in this process, otherwise one of the most precious asset of an environment or landscape, which is people, will be also lost.
Thank you very much for sharing this experience. With a quick look at the clock, I just wanted to give the digital audience the chance, if there are any questions, because we all have the chance to speak later at the breaks and also at the reception this evening, but our digital participants, for them it's not that easy.
Yes, thank you very much. We already have around 80 people joining online, and 2 questions, one of them which was already addressed by Diana. The second question goes also to Diana, and it is, I can say it in Spanish and English. ¿Quién es más activo en las comunidades, los hombres o las mujeres? And the question to the audience, who is more active in the community, men or
Bueno,
women?
yo creo que los dos. Claro, las mujeres, hay que tener algo en cuenta, y es que estas zonas se han caracterizado muchísimo por el machismo. Lamentablemente estamos en el siglo XXI y sigue siendo un problema, ¿no? Que poco a poco va transitando, que hay que trabajar no solo con las mujeres, sino también con los hombres, y enseñarles a darle ese estatus y esa voz y ese poder a las mujeres. Pero yo siento que ellas últimamente se han empoderado muchísimo más. Aquí tenemos un ejemplo. Entonces, sí, creo que es algo que depende de los dos, tanto hombres como mujeres hacen parte de esto, pero día a día las mujeres se están empoderando muchísimo más.
So the short answer is both of them. However, it's important to remind that a mining area in Colombia, at least, by definition, is a macho society. So with this just transition process, there's been also a very interesting perspective on gender change or gender roles change in the area. This has been allowing women to be more participative in the process, allowing them to make deeper and more important decisions than men usually was the ones that were called to. So, for example, Najibet is one of the examples of the area. She has been leading different processes in Ciénaga, where the port is.
Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you. Then applause. Thank you very much. I wish we could talk longer because you have so many stories to tell, but I think, well, most of you could use a coffee and maybe a quick break. I want to thank you all, Carolina, Diana, Dudu, very much for your experiences.
Max, can I talk? No, sí. ¿Puedo contar la historia del colibrí para invitarlos a hacer parte antes de irnos?
Okay. 1 minute for a quick story. Yes, perfect. Thanks.
Sí, hoy estamos aquí con Nayi, invitándolos a todos y a todas a escuchar y a de algún modo ser mensajero de los dioses. Cuando ustedes vieron el inicio de la presentación, ahí había un colibrí. Ese es nuestro símbolo y tiene una historia muy importante. De hecho, viene de la zona aquí de nuestra colega porque fue creada por la primera mujer africana, Premio Nobel de Paz. Y dice que hace mucho tiempo el bosque se incendió y todos los animales salieron corriendo. Y de pronto vieron que el colibrí pasó muy rápido al lago y regresó al incendio. Y varias veces y los animales dijeron, ¿pero qué estará haciendo el colibrí? El jaguar no se aguantó y le dijo, colibrí, ¿usted qué está haciendo? Y él dijo, yo estoy apagando el incendio. Entonces todos empezaron a reírse y le dijeron, pero usted, ¿cuándo va a apagar el incendio, colibrí? Y él dijo, mientras yo pueda, así sea solo con una gota, voy a salvar mi hogar. Entonces todos los animales reaccionaron, lograron apagar el incendio y salvaron sus territorios. Entonces nuestra invitación hoy es hacer todos y todas un colibrí.
So basically, Diana said a story that was originated in South Africa for the first Peace Nobel Prize woman, where probably you saw a hummingbird at the beginning of her presentation. So this is the story of this hummingbird when fire started in the area that were going forward bringing water. So the other animals started laughing at the hummingbird because he couldn't really help, because it was only one drop of water to bring to this fire. So they asked the hummingbird, why do you do this? And the hummingbird said, because I want to save my area, and if I only can do this, I'll do it, because it's my job and my responsibility to do it. So the other animals realized that the hummingbird was right, and so they also start helping to extinguish the fire. So that's what Tierra Digna believes that they are doing in the area.
That's a beautiful story to end. Thank you very much for all of you. Thanks.